getting the flow of the Maimer. All to explain Kol Doidi, the voice of my beloved, the difference between medalik skipping and mekapitz jumping. That medalik is with one leg only skipping. The whole body is not moved upwards necessarily in the same way as mekapitz when the person jumps. So that's going to be, you may have already stated this, they express makif ha'kodev and makif ha'rochek. The essential difference between the two, so there's three hamshachas, there's hamshacha pnimius. Hamshacha pnimius would be the general seder of life, the integration of one level to the other as created by Hashem, as manifested by Hashem. There's an ongoing, living, divine manifestation. It's happening every moment, and as it's created, mitzad the nivra, so the seder is hamshacha pnimius, and the whole order of ishtalshalos that we are familiar with. But then there is through avodah or melamayla, and that's the whole kavanah, is not to leave the status quo. But the kavanah is to be mamshich into creation. Elikos, bligvul, kedusha, that's the whole avodah. And so every mitzvah and every moment and every relationship has its unique hamshacha. So there is the hamshacha, therefore, of the makifim, of the transcendent levels into efanim, and which correspond to two levels in the transcendent, makif ha'kodev and makif ha'rochek, which he's exploring and explaining with a greater complexity, a greater detail, a greater understanding. What we've learned till now, and this is the salient point, is the makif ha'rochek is is a powerful gilui, but it's a gilui. At the end of the day, it's a gilui. Number one, it's a yosha, it's nimshach lamata, it's a revelation of the makif. And as we're learning now, it comes in a way of Cyrus. It's only a ha'orah. It's only a ha'orah of the makif that is drawn when the makif is revealed, like when the rotzen is firing, which isn't the normal state of affairs. It's when we're threatened, usually, whatever challenges bring out the koach harotzen. So the gilui then is a ha'orah of the koach harotzen. Hamshacha pnimius is hamshacha pnimius. It's slapshus, completely tailored to the makabel. Hamshacha pnimius is really gets down to and into the world of the makabel. Makif ha'korev is a gilui that overwhelms the makabel to some degree. The chiddush of the makif ha'rochek is shechoyza misalim batzmusay means that when he's nimshach, which means that he's drawn, when the etzem is revealed, then it's b'chol gufay. His entire being is engaged. Entire etzem. An illustration for this, another illustration, perhaps the most obvious, is our Rebbe. Our Rebbe is an atzmi, b'chlal. So we see in our Rebbe's conduct this kind of behavior. It's forever endearing. You know, it never satisfies the eye, because in every movement is the etzem, is the entire being. Just one illustration of that is the Rebbe talking to children or engaging with children, giving $1 or speaking to them. B'teva ha'odam, when you engage with a child, so you kind of descend from your state and you connect to the kid, you talk to the child, and then that's it. Then you go back to your state. But the Rebbe is nimsha b'chol atzmus, so you can see that, just the same serious and the same, it's quite amazing to see. this rapport with kids, and it's not just true with children, it's in every tnuah. There is no fanfare, there's no drama, but the entire etzem is there. Every moment today it's called mindfulness. I wouldn't say it is called mindfulness. That's the quest of mindfulness, is to be entirely present in every moment. In the ganzen etzem. Why should you be present in every moment? Without the Eibishter, there's no reason to be present every moment. Most moments you want to escape from. Unless there's a recognition that the Eibishter is in everything, all is in him, and everything is part of Kavanas Atzmos, so then you want to be in every moment. So that's the Gilu Atzmos. Gilu Atzmos, or Yechid, as we're speaking about it, in terms of this Maimah, or Makif HaRochok. It's every moment is everything. The Etzem is Nizgalit fully. As we said the other day too, the marshal, or not the marshal, not the marshal, but the manifestation or illustration of Makif HaRochok is the home. And every detail of the home is the home. No less than any other detail. Everything is there because it's an expression of the Balabayas. The Balabasta, really, it's really her that is the nest. She's the nest of all the neshamas in that home. So every part of it, nothing more, no less, is her home. Has her signature on it in its entirety. Okay, so the Yuvan there. So we started learning yesterday to understand better this inyan of Amshacha of Makif HaRochok, of the Gilu Etzem, which is B'chol Atzmosai. So he's contrasting this with Amshacha Pnimiyus and Amshacha Makifi. And what's the whole story here? What's the model here? Is Chachma and Bina. So he brought two sources with Chachma Bina, two sources where they get their source, where their source is. What emerges at the end, I'm giving you kind of a heads up, and this is the Pshat. Although it's not explicit in the Maimah, in the text. What he's describing here is the relationship as is Misad Ishtalshalos, Amshacha Pnimiyus. In the words of Kabbalah and the Maimah, that's the Amshacha of the arms of Arich. Arich is its source. Kes is the source of Chachma Bina. The source of Ishtalshalos, the first level. So the Amshacha of Arich in a way of Amshacha Pnimiyus, so that, what that does is, doesn't unite them. That just keeps them going. Chachma Bina. As he said, it energizes, it nourishes them. Each one has their function. Chesed of Arich is Chachma, and the Gvura of Arich engenders the source of Bina, because Bina is analysis, etc. And there are two functions. But the Yichud of Chachma and Bina, that's something unusual. It's not natural. You got to get married. The Yichud of Chachma Bina is explaining at length in Chassidus that already in the Bina, he never loses sight of the Nekudas HaChachma. And in the Nekudas HaChachma is the herigish of all the pratim, his fusion of the bittul, of objectivity and subjectivity, all of the beautiful nuances of this Yichud, that happens through Amshacha Makifi. That can happen through Amshacha Pnimiyus. Amshacha Pnimiyus only, on the contrary, accentuates the differences. Pnimiyus means internalized. Internalize each one, their own identity. What unites them is Amshacha. That's what he calls the mazel, the sidus. What did he call it here? Mazel noitzer, and mazel v'nakeh, two dargas in the makif. So when there's Amshacha Makifi that's greater than both of them, and their equal source, that's the chuppah basically, so then they unite, and unite so much so that they can even have a child. So it's close to Atzmi, but it's not. That's what we're up to now. The end of the ois will be, however, Amshacha of Atik, not Arich at all, but Atik, which is in Atzmi, then it's B'chol Atzmos. We're not talking Giluyim of any kind. Not a Giluy Pnimin, not a Giluy Makifi, which is higher, but the Etzem. That's the summary of this ois. Somewhat clear? Yeah, so let's continue it. So where we're up to is, can I ask you a favor? Can you close the door? Thanks. Where we're up to here is where we're up to. Your Tam Hadov. No, a little bit further, a little earlier. Ephraim was saying it because it sounds like it. It sounds like that this is Amshach Atzmi because Heiloda B'doim Eloi. But it's not. It's still not. Still falls short of Amshach Atzmi. Okay, so Ella Vahaino. Let's begin with the word Vahaino. So it's halfway down the Ois, and it's 2 words from the end. I think you all have a different page than I do, unless you got a photocopy. Huh?
Page 20, the one that.
Page 20, the one that you have. Okay. Page 20. How's that page 20? Mine is 20 pages.
No.
It's
Remember there's a Shavuos one before, so this is the second one.
Oh, okay. What's in the Fabre? It's in the Fabrega. Huh? Yeah. So Vahaino, so when the Amshacha is from the mazel, not the Amshacha Pnimi is the arms of Arich, but the mazel level of Arich. That's the etzem of Arich. Arich altogether is a makif. And it's essential makif. Vahaino shaloizim of so then v'leizel shaloizim b'vat shenasa b'mischalkos adem shacham mazel. When the transcendent mazel level is revealed, not only does it not suffuse and nourish the differences, which is what happens when there's Amshacha Pnimi, the Amshacha from the Zeroyas of Arich. Here, on the contrary, because in the face of this transcendent common source, it's a deeper level of their unity, so there is skalalus. Even in the division that existed previously, Chachma Bin has been in their different worlds. As much as they're interrelated in the Ilavolo, it's objective, subjective, outward, inward. So much so that drawing on the level of Arich, they can give birth, and give birth in such a way that the child carries them in their entirety. Sounds atzmi, but it's not. As we tried to say yesterday, and again, this is all a conjecture, but my attempt to understand the Maimer, the union of the bias. This is the yichud. This is the yichud, which is wonderful. But obviously, in the yichud, there's different levels of yichud. It's Chachma and Bina, two friends that are inseparable. In the words of the Zoya, but then there's a level of yichud when you're absolutely one. And that really is manifest in the home b'chlal, just in that moment of yichud. The home really is an indivisible, has lots of pratim, endless, lots of detail in the home. But it's really inyan atzmi that is expressive of them as one. So that's actually on a pshat level, You get married, husband and wife, if you're going to be always on the move, in hotel rooms, etc., for the rest of your life, it's true of any person, even husband and wife, and have each other in their whole and complete. There's going to be a fundamental hole, a gap at the core of their being. They need to build a home together which unites them mamish as one. Not harmonious, not connected, but mamish one. That's in building the home, which will embrace the children, the individual children, etc., equally. Okay, so the time hadavahu, the reason for what? The reason why when it's Amshacha from Mazel, this causes this yichud, in contrast to the first Amshacha, the Zeroy is the arms of Arich, as it were, Lefish Zeroy is the Arich Avshem, but Arich Shlamani Mishtal Shalos. Even though we're talking about a transcendent level, that everything is relative. In the Arich itself, there's system there inherent. Again, we're not surprised to find this. There's going to be system, the stamp of system everywhere in the highest madregas and etzlo, because that's Hashem's desire, is that means system, upper and lower. So it's there on all the levels. It's just extremely subtle and it's all relative. What's gvul to the higher level is bligvul to the lower level. And so the endless relative process exists in Ishtalshalus. In learning Chassidus, what we're attempting to grasp these subtleties and not just always fall back on the endless. That's the model, but understand this makif as opposed to that kind of makif. There's a makif of chokhmah l'gabe binah, which is also a relative makif. It's not the same as the makif of arich l'gabe chokhmah. So this is where the really understanding of Chassidus is in this nuance, which I don't have to tell you. When we grasp this, we have a profound understanding of how we tick, how we work, because we all reflect this. Now, Rotzen, Tainuk, all of these dargas, every darga l'mayla exists b'nefesh adam. So if you learn Chassidus, you understand that you're the world's best psychologist. And you can apply it, that's the key. At any rate, continuing, which is why the Rabbi at this pshat level with such master psychologists understood everybody. That's just intellectual level, just because I understand the nefesh adam, understand the mila, there's everything is, but that's not the reason. The reason because they're an atzmi and they feel you, margish the person in a very deep way, sense the other person. At any rate, kids continue. So again, so therefore, get the flow again. The level of the zerayos of arich, even though arich altogether is makif, but relatively speaking, there is seder there. It's an oir pnimi, high oir pnimi, relative to atik and utter transcendence. So when chitzonius arich is revealed, it's in a way of it's in a way of his lapshus and it's invested and it's a pnimi. When the Amshach itself, this is the sidus, this is the muzzle. In arich itself, this is the makif. That's beyond the shtalshalos. Even though it's not utterly beyond where we're being nourished, it drips down. Ha'orah levad, it's only a ha'orah. So he's bringing it now. It's so beyond. We get so little of it. It drops. Mazel. Yinika implies not a meal, but drinking from it. Yinika. What's the word for it? It means nourish, but it means as a child gets a yonik as a child
drip.
That suckles, it only gets a drip. It doesn't mean to drip, but it means to absorb that which is very small. He's yonik from his mother, he gets a drop, and a drop, and a drop. So it's only ha'orah levad, it's only a ha'orah, mazolis, v'sidus. The metaphor is, or the term for it is mazol, which means to drip. Sidus meaning hair, which is a tiny giloi from the moyach, and there's the hefsek of the skull, etc. Become mokim, it's only a small giloi of the power of the makif, but ein ze boyfriend dislapshus v'helim, it doesn't get invested within them, but unites, transcends. So all to conclude our discussion, a meidedik giloi that causes the yichud, and it's not bislapshus. Nonetheless, the sum total of arich, which even engenders hiloda, unity, wonderful. It's still makif hakorev, makif hayoshod. It's still a direct gilui, direct traceable relationship. The paradox of etzem is it's not traceable, and yet it's everything. As we said, the atom is a good example. If I tell you I'm holding an atom, you cannot know an atom of what. It's not traceable to anything. And yet everything is atoms, nothing else. Its manifestation is in whatever tzir it is. What's that whole tzir? It's nothing but atoms. But the tzir is built in misgal, it's a mufshet, it's completely netak. That's not arich, which is a gilui and a tzir, rotzen. Rotzen is the parallel, the nefesh adam, as we explained earlier. As the Maamar explained. So makiv is distant. It's a makiv that's distant. We don't mean distant, obviously, spatially. We don't mean any of this spatially. But we don't even mean distant, like not in the world of Ishtarshalus. It's the etzem of it all. It's distant in terms of their conscious expression of it. And you cannot be etzem bilti mizgala means it can be pinned to particular gilui. So it means bilti mizgala. An atom can't be pinned to a particular molecular structure, atomic structure, whatever the term is. That's only what it is. It's everything. But it is everything. So makiv der chayzer she'ein begeder gilui klal. This is the makiv der chayzer, and we're suggesting that chayzer means again that when the etzem is revealed, it brings everything into this atzmistic world, or brings the etzem the other way, to bear in every prat and every manifestation. She'ein begeder gilui klal. It's not gilui meaning to say a particular tzir. Here's the key point. Let's grasp this. So when he's drawn, this is the mekapitz. The whole guf is netak. When the etzem, when we're appreciating and the etzem is revealed and the etzem is present, it's b'chol atzmusay. It's not gilui. There's no parts of etzem. It is being, and being is total. Kind of clear. Actually, the mind will explain it further still. But as we said before, being totally present, b'chol atzmusay in every prat. That's the quality of etzem. Yeah, guys, a little heads up, a little nod. Yeah. Okay, let's go further. Now here, if you look here, they had all these questions, what the Rebbe said. And again, Aleph and Beis, the Rebbe wrote, published in the beginning of the Maamar, which they write as kind of footnotes. Let's have a look at it as we come to it. Again, friends, I just want to tell you, the Rebbe counseled, and there's many letters to people about learning Chassidus. It's not a hechlech, and it's not possible to understand everything thoroughly. First of all, nobody does. But we get a general idea, good. And there's value to learning B'shufi. A lot of Rebbe would encourage this. Just learn a lot and don't get stuck on things. Get the general idea, keep on going. So we're kind of trying to do that too. Funny, yesterday, the women's shir. There wasn't a mind, but it was in there. But she says, I don't know what she asked, how this came up exactly. Anyway, she says, is this true, Rabbi? She asked me that when you learn Chassidus, she was saying, it's, how does she put it? It's really learning on a subliminal level, not so much intellectual. I said, yeah, it's more than a shamba that gets it in the seichel. But we have to try and understand with seichel pnimius, because the kavanas did it betachtoinim, the boss are starting with the mind to understand. So we have to harv it to understand. There's no excuse. No excuse for not harving to the degree that we can. Whatever we understand, we'll again understand. But the haravani has to be each one on their level. And that can only happen, friends, on your own time. You relearn the Maamar and you stop and think, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does it mean? Grapple with it. And as I don't want to tire you and bore you again, but the test is, can I explain this to somebody else who has the goodwill, who wants to understand, but can I explain it to them, who has no background? Then if we can, and to whatever degree we can, then I know I understand it. So let's continue. So concluding now, now we're going to understand the difference between skipping and jumping. That the voice of my beloved comes skipping and jumping, skipping over the mountains, jumping over the hills. We learned before that there's two levels of koil. There's a manifested koil, and there's the koil primistic koil. Call it the leishtama that's not heard, that is always calling. And it's both ways. The Eibush is always calling to us, and we're calling to him. So in this guf, there's two levels: medalag and mekapetz, makif harachik and makif hakorev. Let's now see it inside Shamshocha, the medalig, the skipping Amshocha hurak regalachas. It's only 1/4. And the etzem, the body, is not drawn. Dugmas, this is similar to the makif hakorev, and he underlines dugmas, puts it in italics. We'll see why in the aleph. Avo yonkim mazola. This is amshacha makifi. It's skipping, transcendent. It's not the order of walking step by step, which is amshacha pnimia seidish talshos, one level engendering to the other, each one in its place, giving way to the other. This is not the case. This is the union of what of a unity of amshacha that's beyond the system. It's dugmas. What is it? Dugmas avo yonkim mazola. This is the higher level we spoke about in the previous ois. The unity, avo is abba v'ima, that you not get nourished from the level of mazel. Now he emphasizes dugmas. This is in response to their question, the question of Rabbi Yoel. Hashem sent him a refuah shlema or kroiva. Yeah, it was in hospital. I hope today's home already. So Deborah writes, yeah, it's dugmas, avaloi mamish. But the union of medalig is not exactly analogous to the example, the illustration of the yichud of Abba ve'ima as they are nourished by the level of mazel, the union of arich. Why? Because the unika that comes from the mazel is only a ha'oret, the side is like it's a glimmer. Here it's tremendous oil. Tremendous gilui. And moreover, sheregel ho'ever, a foot is not like an analogous to a hair, which is mili amshocha, the mirror's glimmer. It's a limb of the body. It's part and parcel of the body. V'loi mazol is beside it. It's not like a thing of mazol inside it. So it's similar, but not quite. It's much greater. Okay. Can't offer more explanation to what we just read. You got that? Everything is relative. So that's the conclusion. Let's get this clear. So medalig is what? Is skipping. It's only beregel. The whole guf is not lifted at one moment. Guf being the etzem of the person, as it were. There isn't a movement of the etzem. It's only regel achas. So it's similar to, but it's skipping. It's going beyond the system. It's a gilui higher than skipping as opposed to walking. This plodding along, this natural progression. And you're skipping over what? Over the natural order. So that's similar to what? The makif, hakorev, makif. However, from mazel, from the siders, but not mamish as you said in the order. Are we clear? But jumping with his 2 feet in here too, it's going to be a big order. Here, the whole body is lifted. This is the whole essence is moved. And when he's nimshech, it's not a hara, it's not a gilui, even a great gilui, but the entire etzem is drawn. It's a shudder, it's a move that touches the very core of the being, talking about Eibishter, or Benefesh Adam, the person. Okay, so jumping represents my voice of my beloved is skipping and then jumping. First skipping, that's the first level of the Gilui Makivarocha Kodev, and then the higher level is going to say it's Yitzis Mitzrayim Matan Torah. Matan Torah is B'chol Atzmusa Anoicha V'Alikecha. There the Eibishter is moved in this essential expression. Now comes a very deep order base. Okay, we'll stop here because it's a little bit of a longer, beautiful story and history, a little bit. And we will learn the Ha'ara tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem, Ha'ara Be'ez. Are you all so excited to learn the Ha'ara tomorrow? I hope you can all sleep tonight. And if you can't, because of this Ha'ara, I wish you, my dear friends, you should have nothing keeping you up at night other than excitement to learn a Maimer, or because I didn't understand the Maimer and that's bothering you. No other worries. No worries. Only I want to understand that what's the Maimer saying. That's that's the labor, the slavery in Mitzrayim, and Libon Hilchas. Okay. Here is, so the Rebbe says, and we have a choice. We're gonna be disturbed about something. That's been nettled. That's life. The choice is what? What is this gonna disturb me? The Maimer, if not the Maimer, then it's going to be something else. Chas v'shalom, that we don't want. We're going to be building the bricks and mortar. Question is what? Okay. Story.